Imagine a floating city, a masterpiece of engineering costing over $1 billion to build. It spans 19 decks, houses 20 restaurants, and carries 6,000 passengers in absolute luxury. It is the pinnacle of modern travel, but eventually, the music stops. Look closely at this image. This isn't a repair dock. It isn't a museum. This is a graveyard. Specifically, it is a tidal beach where massive vessels are rammed ashore at full speed to be torn apart piece by piece by hand. This is the brutal, hidden world of shipbreaking. It is an industry worth billions of dollars annually. But why destroy a ship that can still float? How do you dismantle a structure that weighs 50,000 tons? And the most important question, exactly how much cash is hidden inside the carcass of a dead giant? Welcome to the afterlife economy.
To understand the death of a ship, we must first look at its life. The lifespan of a modern cruise ship is surprisingly short, usually between 25 and 30 years. That might seem wasteful for a billion-dollar asset, but the economics are ruthless. You see, cruise ships are technically assets, but they operate like liabilities. As a ship ages, its engines become less efficient, and its maintenance costs skyrocket. A 30-year-old liner burns significantly more fuel than a modern vessel. In an industry where profit margins are tight, fuel efficiency is everything. Eventually, a tipping point is reached. The cost to keep the ship running exceeds the profit it generates from tickets. When that happens, the cruise line has a problem. You cannot simply park a cruise ship in a harbor and walk away. The docking fees alone would bankrupt a company. The ship must be gone, and it must be turned into cash immediately. This is where the cash buyer enters the equation. These are middlemen, often based in Dubai or London, who purchase the vessel from the cruise line for its weight in raw steel. The price tag? Usually between $10 and $20 million, depending on the global market for scrap metal. Once that check is signed, the ship takes its final, one-way voyage.
The destination is rarely a high-tech facility in Europe or America. Instead, the ship heads to the tidal beaches of South Asia, specifically Alang in India, Chittagong in Bangladesh, or Aliaga in Turkey. Alang alone handles nearly half of the world's scrapped tonnage. The arrival method is primitive, violent, and effective. It is called beaching. Unlike a normal docking procedure where tugboats gently guide a vessel, a decommissioning run is a deliberate crash. The captain waits for the highest tide of the month. He aligns the ship perpendicular to the shore, revs the engines to maximum power, and drives the billion-dollar giant straight into the mud. The momentum carries the ship high up onto the sand, ensuring it cannot float back out to sea. Once the engines are cut, the ship is officially dead. It will never move under its own power again. What happens next is a reverse assembly line. In the West, demolishing a building requires permits, safety zones, and heavy machinery. In shipbreaking yards, the primary tools are gravity, gas torches, and sheer manpower. Thousands of workers swarm the vessel. They begin by cutting large windows into the hull to let light and air into the dark compartments. Then, the cutting begins in earnest. Using blowtorches, they slice the ship into massive blocks, some weighing dozens of tons. These blocks are allowed to crash down onto the beach with an earth-shaking thud, where secondary teams dismantle them further. It is a dangerous ballet. The pressure is on to work fast, because time is money. A team of skilled workers can make a massive cruise ship vanish completely in less than 6 months. But where does all that material go? So, how do the scrapyard owners make a profit after paying millions to buy the ship? The answer is steel. A cruise ship is essentially 50,000 tons of high-grade steel. Once the metal is cut, it is loaded onto trucks and sold to re-rolling mills. This steel is melted down and recycled into construction bars. There is a high probability that the steel in your local apartment building or bridge once traveled the oceans as a luxury liner. But steel is just the bulk value. The real bonus profit lies in the fittings. Before the heavy cutting begins, the ship is stripped of its soul. The diesel generators, massive engines capable of powering a small town, are removed intact and sold to factories in developing nations. The navigation electronics are resold to other shipping companies. The copper wiring is stripped and sold by the kilogram.
Nothing goes to waste. In the dusty towns surrounding the shipyards of Alang,
a unique marketplace exists. Here you can find the remnants of lost luxury. You can walk into a roadside shop and buy a crystal chandelier from a five-star ballroom for a fraction of its original price. You can buy industrial kitchen equipment, grand pianos, lifeboats, and even thousands of toilets. Hotels and restaurants across India are often furnished with items scavenged from these dead ships. The profit margin for a scrapyard on a single project can range from $1 million to $5 million. But it is a gamble. If the global price of steel drops while the ship is being dismantled, the yard could lose a fortune. It is high-stakes poker, played with massive industrial structures. However, this economy comes at a cost. Shipbreaking is widely considered one of the most dangerous jobs on the planet. Explosions, falling steel, and exposure to toxic materials like asbestos are constant risks. While regulations are improving, specifically with the Hong Kong Convention aiming to make the industry safer, the reality on the ground remains harsh. In the end, the cycle is complete. The ship that was born in a European shipyard that hosted millions of smiles, honeymoons, and vacations disappears into the sand. It is melted down, reshaped, and reborn. This is the hidden life cycle of our industrial world. We build, we use, and eventually we decommission. If you enjoyed this look into the afterlife of industry, make sure to subscribe. Next week, we are going to look at something even bigger, the secret graveyards of Boeing 747s. Thanks for watching.